Welcome to episode 15 of the Soulful Menopause podcast. Today we're discussing the goddess. Who is the goddess? How can she help us with our feminine empowerment? And how can you connect with her for support as you transition through menopause? Plus, there's a free guided meditation for you where you'll get to meet the goddess of wisdom, sit with her, and ask any questions you may have to receive some sacred insight into your life. Welcome to the Soulful Menopause podcast. Discover how to transform the chaos of menopause into vibrant health and a soulful life you'll love. I'm Sally Love, natural nutritionist and soul wisdom coach. I want you to experience a soulful menopause that'll guide you into the best years of your life. Welcome, Fire Moon Goddess. I am so thrilled that you've joined me here today. So, what is a goddess? Now, a lot of people think that a goddess is some lofty, put on a pedestal image of a perfect, beautiful woman, a divine, radiant being. And people often think that the title of a goddess is only meant for a deity, a mythical, otherworldly, supreme being. I remember when I told my mother about the Fire Moon Goddess and that I'm a Fire Moon Goddess, and her response was, "You're not calling yourself a goddess, are you?" As if I was putting myself on a pedestal, believing myself to be head and shoulders above everyone else, believing myself to be superior in some way. And this is probably what a lot of people think. In fact, a goddess is a sacred archetype. And she's also our female ancestors. And she's you. So yes, you are a goddess. Now, if you've listened to my last few episodes, I'm taking the opportunity to look at each of the elements of the Fire Moon Goddess. So fire, moon, and goddess. Today's episode is all about the goddess, and the Fire Moon Goddess is the name that I came up with for the phases of menopause: perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. Now, the phases of women, or the goddess, have been universally seen as the maiden, mother, and the crone. However, this was when women didn't live as long. Their life would nearly be over once they actually hit menopause. And now at menopause, well, we're just getting started, aren't we? I certainly feel like I am. We're not shriveled up old crones when we reach menopause. That's for absolute certainty. And as I mentioned in my introduction to the Fire Moon Goddess, at menopause, we're in the autumn of our lives. We have the opportunity to shimmer and shine brightly, showing off our stunning autumn colours, rich reds, glowing oranges, shimmering golds. Beautiful, rich, deep, glowing, shimmering, stunning colours. That's us. That's you. Yeah, you are beautiful, rich, deep, glowing, and shimmering. That's the Fire Moon Goddess stage. We aren't old crones yet. No, we're not. So I'd like to take a closer look at the goddess and what she means to us at this point in our lives, and how you can work with the goddess energies to support you through this time of transition. So, when we talk about the goddess, we need to understand archetypes. An archetype is an aspect of ourselves. It's a way of understanding and relating to characteristics of ourselves. our behaviors, our ways of being. So, when we're looking at the different goddesses such as Aphrodite, Athena, Artemis, and Persephone, we're looking at aspects of ourselves. They're not separate from us, they are us. Their stories speak to us at different times in our lives. Stories are so powerful. They give us a way to relate, to feel heard and to feel understood. Stories inspire us and they motivate us. If we hear a story of how other women have gone through challenges that maybe we're currently facing, and their stories speak of overcoming those challenges, emerging happier, healthier, and more empowered than before, that's very powerful for us to hear. We think, wow, if they've done it, I can do it. I can do this too. We can gain so much strength and self-belief and self-confidence by connecting with their stories. Plus, it's really wonderful, really powerful to know that we aren't alone when we're facing challenges in our lives. And that's such a tremendous source of strength. So the goddess archetypes provide us with a feminine power that we can tap into. And menopause is a perfect time for us to explore what feminine power actually means to us. This is a time in our lives when we can gather all our experiences together, realize our wisdom, and then explore how we want to use that, how we want to live in this next cycle of our lives. In ancient history, the feminine was highly respected. Her intuition and her ability to create and nurture life was deeply honored. The connection of her menstrual cycles to the phases of the moon was seen as sacred. She was a great healer, using herbs from the land to ease people's suffering. And for these reasons, she was actually seen as being a part of nature. Mother Nature, the giver of life, the nurturer. She was seen as magical, a goddess. Temples and sacred places for worshipping the goddess were created. Places where women could go to connect to their own sacredness, to take part in sacred rituals, honoring the women that have gone before them and connecting with their energies so they could give thanks and embody those beautiful aspects within themselves. Now, some sacred places were caves where their entrances were shaped like a vulva and they're painted red on the outside. Other places of goddess worship were great temples. But in ancient prehistoric times, their temples were shaped and curved just like the feminine body. Absolutely beautiful. Now, because of their feminine power, because these women were seen as these powerful goddesses, they had the ability to create life from within them, because they were connected so deeply to nature. Unfortunately, the goddess images started to be suppressed around the late Bronze Age. Men began fearing the feminine power and they wanted control and power over them. And so the ancient Greeks created a story that the goddess Athena was born from the head of Zeus, completely taking away the role of the goddess being a creator of life, something that she was highly honored for. And so this story thereby totally belittled her and suppressed her importance, suppressed her power. And in fact, Zeus's wife, Metis, was the goddess of wisdom. And she was such a threat to Zeus in many ways, not only for her wisdom, but also because it was thought that her children would become more powerful than Zeus and he would eventually be overpowered by them. So he tricked her, this is Metis, his wife, into becoming really small and swallowed her. I mean, talk about suppression. With Metis in his stomach, Zeus could control her, but actually still listen to her wisdom and take that wisdom for himself. You know, there are many stories of feminine suppression. A lot of goddess archetypes were suppressed. We know, the main goddess archetypes, some of which I've talked about, such as Artemis and Aphrodite, but a lot of other goddesses have been totally forgotten. However, in the late 19th century, women have started to rise again. We're reawakening to our wisdom and power. Our female ancestors have fought for us to have the right to vote. They've fought for us to be heard and seen. They've fought for us to be educated. They've fought for us to be able to have any career we choose. And most recently in Saudi Arabia, women have fought for the right to drive. Now, this is a huge subject I'd love to talk more about, but for now I just want to say that I really hope that we can move forward towards a balance of the masculine and the feminine. We don't want to start suppressing men because the suppression is what caused a tremendous imbalance for the world. We don't need more suppression and imbalance. We actually need balance now. So for now, women need to step up to continue to be heard and seen, but not from using the masculine energy of power over, suppression, anger, or control, but from our beautiful qualities that have been suppressed for so long, such as nurturing and compassion and healing and intuition and diplomacy. And of course, that little bit of magic that the world so desperately needs right now. I want to see more women in powerful places being treated and respected the same way as men are. But I want to see them leading from their feminine qualities that we've been ridiculed for in the past. Too often I see women in powerful places in government or in big institutions, but I see them as women acting as men. Too often I see women acting as men. Our feminine qualities of intuition especially have been laughed at. And I bet a lot of women will be dismissed or ridiculed if they brought intuition into a boardroom. However, that stems from the old fears that men had about our feminine power. And so I'm hoping and trusting that we're in a better place now to be able to talk about these things openly, to share our feminine wisdom with the world and break through the barriers of fear and ridicule so our powerful gifts can be recognized again. We can bring a message of diplomacy, nurturing, intuition, healing, and peace to the world. That they say that for a new paradigm, a new idea that could change the world to be accepted, it actually has to go through a sequence of reactions. Firstly, it's ridiculed. Secondly, it's violently opposed. And third, it's accepted as being self-evident. Now, if we can be conscious of this process and push through when other people are ridiculing our intuition, or most probably have faith as we push through our own fears of being ridiculed. If we can see the bigger picture and continue to rise up and speak out, even though we've got that fear of not being accepted, even though, we may experience some anger or some resistance to our messages, even though we may be dismissed, if we can push through this chain of emotions and reactions that lead towards acceptance, how wonderful would that be? That brings back the goddess. That brings back the sacred goddess to the world, and hopefully some balance. I like to think of goddess Metis climbing up out of Zeus's stomach. I like to think that that's what we're in the process of doing right now. We will return to a normal size, carrying more wisdom from that experience, and certainly stepping into significantly more empowerment. I've got some beautiful goddess books, and I would encourage you to go out and find a goddess book or search online and just start to bring the goddess back into your life. So if you've been feeling suppressed in some way, perhaps you've allowed your partner to hold you back. Perhaps you've been suppressing yourself, thinking that you're too old and it's too late to start new things now. Perhaps you have uncertainty or doubts or fears that are holding you back from living the life that you want. Or maybe, you've got some secret dreams that maybe you haven't even fully acknowledged to yourself. Or perhaps you're sitting with a lot of chaos in your life, as what happens at menopause, and you just don't know what's what any longer. You don't know what you want. These are the times that you can invoke a goddess archetype into your life. She's actually within you, waiting for you to acknowledge her. She's waiting to offer you support. You can call on her for inspiration, clarity, confidence, courage, determination, motivation, self-love, joy, healing, fun, whatever it is that you're in need of. And there are many goddesses for you to discover. Each one has her own story to tell you, her own gifts to offer you. And just because you're in menopause, it doesn't mean that you can't connect with a maiden or a mother goddess. For example, if you're going through a phase right now of feeling old and, you're not really liking the way that your body's changing, and, we can get caught up with that during menopause. You may choose to actually work with a maiden goddess, so that you can bring some of that youthfulness, that play and that vibrant energy back into your life. So to help you with this, I thought that I'd create a little meditation for you so that you can actually connect with a goddess archetype and hopefully receive some beautiful, soulful insight. I thought as I've been talking about Metis, Zeus's wife, it would make sense to connect with her and this image of rising up from Zeus's stomach, up and out to claim feminine empowerment. Rise up and out of suppression, rise up and out of anything that's been getting you down. So you're going to have time to spend with Metis, to listen to her wisdom, which is really basically listening to your soul's wisdom. You're just awakening that within you. So if you'd like to do this meditation, I've put it together for you. It's totally free. All you need to do is download it from my website. Just go to www.soulfulmenopause.com/goddess. I'll put a link in the show notes for you. You'll be taken to a page where you just need to fill in your name and your email address, and then the meditation will be sent directly to your inbox. And please make sure that you whitelist my email address, info@soulfulmenopause.com, so that you actually do receive your meditation and it doesn't go into the void of your trash, your junk mailboxes, etc. And I would love to hear how this meditation actually goes for you. I would love to hear the soulful insight you receive from it. So please do get in touch with me afterwards. I love hearing your stories. Now, I also want to let you know that I'm about to go away traveling for a month. So I may not be able to actually release another podcast until probably the end of September. I'm going to be traveling all over the place, and so it may not be possible for me to produce a podcast episode while I'm away. So just to let you know, you may not hear from me until the end of September. That'll give you a chance to catch up on any episodes that you may have missed, and we'll get back together in the autumn. So for now, go and download your free goddess meditation. Let me know how that goes, and have a wonderful rest of your summer, Fire Moon Goddess. To find out more about how you can live a soulful menopause, please visit soulfulmenopause.com. I'm really looking forward to being with you again soon. Bye for now.